situation is particularly critical for faculty from underrepresented sectors of society who are consistently paid less and receive less support than any other faculty subsegment, not only at MSU, but nationally. How then are we expected to help MSU build a more inclusive, equal, and fair university when we don't even have the resources or support that would allow us to better support our students? If the university is really committed to a holistic approach that might create an enriching experience for first and second year students, it should do as much as possible to retain those who have the most direct impact on these students. Teaching faculty who are constantly in the front lines of MSU's pedagogic mission can attest to the detrimental effect of this imbalance. We at UNTF support any and all initiatives that lead MSU to become a great institution that we know it can become. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Moore, and I'm here representing the MSU Ad Hoc University Sustainable Investment Working Group. Happy Earth Day, fellow human beings. I happen to have been here on the campus for the first Earth Day in 1970. Let me briefly discuss our work here as Ad Hoc Working Group. We are representatives of faculty, staff, and community partners that are committed to understanding the Board of Trustees' current endowment investment policies and practices. And we hope that you will take a few minutes over the next few weeks to review a set of questions that we've provided for the board to help us more fully and accurately understand your investment policies and practices. And I'll briefly review the questionnaire for you. Our first question asks you, as per your existing policy statement, how do you define social conscience? And how is that applied in our investment practices? Our second question asks about the Budget and Finance Committee. Are the meetings open to the public? And if so, when are they held and where are they held? And are minutes kept for public review? Third, are the Investment Advisory Subcommittee meetings also open to the public? When are they held and where are they held? And can you identify how members of that advisory committee are selected? Our fourth question relates to the investment consultants that the university uses to manage its investment portfolio. Please identify them by name and the firms of which they are affiliated. And additionally, how are they selected? Our fifth question speaks to investment managers. This is another category of partners that work with us on managing our investment. Again, who are they and what firms do they represent? And then we further ask what % of our endowment is managed by those firms so that we have an opportunity to see if there's a large amount concentrated in a particular firm. Our seventh question speaks to the proxy policy that the board has. The current policy recommends that the investment managers vote with the management on proxy issues. And our question is, how do we reconcile that directive to our investment managers with our social conscience directive? Are there cases where we have differed from the management in voting on proxy issues? Our eighth question is related to current status of the investment policy. Apparently the investment policy that's available online was dated 2017. We're wondering if it has been updated. If so, where is it? And then our ninth question is, and our final question is to ask, what effort are you going to be making in the future to increase transparency on our investment practices? Again, our fact-finding body is anxious to present to the MSU community a studied report on how our institution is investing its endowment. So thank you.
Thank you.
Grace Rathburn, followed by Jesse Estrada White.
Thank you all for coming here today on this beautiful Earth Day morning. My name is Grace Rathburn. I am a junior at this school studying political science and economics. I came all the way from North Carolina to take advantage of the school's opportunities, leaving my warm weather and family behind. One of these opportunities was, of course, joining Sunrise. And on behalf of Sunrise, we'd like to thank you. We'd like to thank you for helping get this university off of coal power. We'd like to thank you for your investment
way. So you guys also so not only did you take away the opportunity for me to represent a university I once loved so much, you guys made me feel insignificant in every way possible. And then this also unfortunate decision also took away my opportunity to reach academic goals I set for myself. After committing here and seeing what my sister achieved, I made it a goal of mine to attend the academic gala each year and hopefully receive the President's Award my senior year. When you guys decided our team was no longer worth fighting for, you guys took away my opportunity to be eligible for such awards. I maintained a 4.0 GPA my entire life, and I was hoping to continue this standard as I continue my time here at Michigan State. But now that feature just seems useless because I can't achieve the goals I wanted to with it. And also, the reason I can't achieve these goals are completely out of my hands. I think, though, the hardest thing that I've had to deal with this decision and having to process it is the fact that my parents were not allowed to ever see me compete in person as a college athlete, and they weren't allowed to see my finishing of my career. They supported me through all my athletic endeavors since the start of my athletic career, and now they don't get to see the end. This makes me feel like a failure because I feel like I let them down and I wasted their time and resources. With just one decision, this university has taken so much from me in the span of a year and a half, and you guys have made me feel ways that I hope to never feel again in my life. I want you to know that we are a team worth fighting for, even if you guys don't see it now. And if you guys take anything from this meeting today, it's that I want you guys to know exactly how much you took from a group of students who have given nothing but their all for Michigan State. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. My name is Alexis Lefevre, and I'm the president of MSU Swim Club. As said before, 2 weeks ago this Sunday, Michigan State Swim Club won our national championship meet for college club swimming. While this honor is great for the swim club, I want to talk about the reason that we won this championship, and it wasn't me. This was won by former varsity swimmers. 13 individual events, as well as 4 relays, were won by former varsity swimmers. These are only the first place wins. There are even more top 3 finishers. Naming a few of these swimmers are Travis Nikevitz, Casey Venn, Cindy Kelly, Sophia Balo, Sheridan Phelan, and Stefan Freitag. To add to another success by these swimmers is Travis and Casey. They are the high point getters at this meet, which means they won the most points out of every single person, and there are over 1,000 athletes at this meet. While the wins in itself are impressive, I want to highlight how much they won by, because this is not your typical championship meet. For most championships, events are won by milliseconds, by hundredths of a second. But these swimmers won by seconds. Casey Venn won the 100 individual medley, by a 1 second and a half, which is ridiculous. That never happens. We are immensely grateful as a club to have these former varsity swimmers on our team. But this should have not been the case. These swimmers need to compete at a higher level, give them competition, and college club swimming is not providing that. I've been to 3 college club swimming championships, and I've never seen a team dominate more than this past one. Although I feel that their swimming speaks for itself from everyone who has spoken about their swimming, I want to take a moment to mention their commitment to this club team, as well as their commitment to the varsity swim team. Their swimming has spoken for themselves, but these swimmers are committed to advancing the swimming for this community. They are committed to reinstating this varsity swim team. And I cannot express how much dedication I see from each of these swimmers, as many of them train with us as well as train on their own to be able to compete at such a level that they deserve to compete at. Last week, they went to Waverly Piranha's swim club, and half of the people who came from MSU Swim Club were varsity swimmers, giving back to our community. And this is why they are committed to swimming. They are committed to Lansing area aquatics. These swimmers deserve to compete where they are challenged, and that is not college club swimming. They came to MSU to swim at a Division I college level, and that's what it deserves. As the president of the club, thank you.
So thank you, and I want to thank everyone who spoke this morning for your comments. In my remarks today, I'll highlight some notable accomplishments and honors earned by Spartans since we last met, as well as a number of exciting facility openings and leadership appointments. As we mark Earth Day today, I want to acknowledge all those Spartans working to make our world more sustainable. MSU has made strong commitments and progress in sustainability through cutting-edge research, experiential learning, community engagement, and operational practices. Our MSU 2030 strategic plan commits us to climate neutrality by 2050 and several more near-term goals through our four-pillar framework of campus, curriculum, community, and culture. I was pleased to help kick off the first campus convening on Climate Change Wednesday, which was produced by our Office of Research and Innovation with great participation from our colleges. And later in the day, we enjoyed hosting Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist and other special visitors for a roundtable focused on public-private partnerships supporting Michigan's leadership in electric vehicles and advanced mobility. The event also allowed us to highlight our excellent engineering program and the exciting R&D innovation that contributes to the state's economy in a growing economic sector. This good work, creating a greener future, builds on the exceptionally successful summer semester and academic year. We returned to in-person learning and activities following the prior year remote programs, and that has helped bring us together as a community. I'm looking forward to joining trustees and colleagues in saluting the more than 9,200 spring graduates at our convocation and commencement ceremonies on May 6th. I'm certain our graduates will be inspired by our honorary degree recipients and guest speakers. It will be a thrill for our undergraduate degree recipients to hear top Michigan State University scorer, first-round NBA draft pick, Olympic gold medalist, philanthropist, and sports analyst Steve Smith speak. He will receive an honorary doctoral degree in education. Another alum, Carhartt President and Chief Operating Officer Linda Hubbard, will address master's degree recipients and receive an honorary doctoral degree in business. And alum Ronald Goldsberry, the United States Army captain and former Ford Motor Company executive, will address doctoral degree recipients and receive an honorary doctoral degree in science. We will also present honorary degrees to alums Diane and Jennifer Gilbert of Rocket Companies in Detroit and Wendy's president, Todd Penegor. They were not able to make their addresses to 2020 graduates in person. As we look to graduation, I want to congratulate the Board of Trustees scholars that we will honor today. It's so impressive to see so many students concluding their undergraduate experience with 4.0 grades, especially given the challenges posed by the pandemic. And of course, I've greatly enjoyed being able to host in-person events honoring outstanding students and faculty members in recent weeks. That includes Graduate and Professional Student Appreciation Week and spending time at the Hatch with some very impressive student entrepreneurs. I continue to be expressed with the scholarly excellence of our students. Andrew McDonald, who is an honors college senior, majoring in both computer science and advanced mathematics and statistics, was named a Gates Cambridge Scholar, making him the sixth to be named from Michigan State University. That scholarship will fund his doctoral degree studies at Cambridge, while his joint master's program will be funded by a Marshall Scholarship. 3 additional MSU juniors were also recently named as 2022 Goldwater Scholars to pursue studies in science and mathematics. And 16 exceptional undergraduate and graduate students and alumni were selected for National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowships. This prestigious program supports graduate study in National Science Foundation supported STEM disciplines. MSU's commitment to academic excellence was once again recognized by U.S. News and World Report. It placed 5 of our graduate programs at #1, including the College of Education's elementary and secondary education programs, where they've been since 1995. Curriculum and instruction remains at the top for the 4th year in a row among the college's 8 graduate programs ranked in the top 20. And the Eli Broad College of Business Supply Chain Graduate Program remains #1 for the 6th year in a row. The undergraduate program has topped this list for 10 years, while the College of Natural Sciences Nuclear Physics Graduate Program has been ranked at the top for 13 straight years. Finally, it's been a great season for athletics, and I've enjoyed cheering on our student athletes. Our men's basketball team took us to the NCAA tournament for the 24th straight year, the longest streak in Big Ten history and the 3rd longest in NCAA history. It was also great this week to honor some MSU student athletes who won championships individually or as members of their teams. Altogether, this year's list of champions is impressive. James Piot won the 2021 U.S. Amateur Golf Championship and competed with the pros in the 2022 Masters Tournament. First-year gymnast Skyla Schulte finished in the top 10 on the beam of the NCAA Championship semifinals and is the 3rd Spartan gymnast to earn All-American honors. Wrestling had 5 NCAA qualifiers. Men and women's track and field had 3 Big Ten champions, with 2 others who qualified for the NCAA championships. Men and women's cross country both competed in the NCAA championships twice in 2021 due to COVID's impact on fall sports. And women's golf won the 2021 Big Ten championship. Spartan football were the 2021 Peach Bowl champions and won 11 games for the 6th time in team's history. And in club sports, the men's water polo team, as well as their roller hockey team, were national champions, and the MSU Swim Club, which contained members from the varsity swim and dive program, won the national college club title. I know everyone joins me in congratulating all our champion student athletes. As we conclude a successful semester and get ready to say goodbye to most students for the summer, we're already welcoming new ones who will join us in the fall. I want to congratulate the Office of Admissions, the Provost and Deans, for their work producing such a successful Admitted Student Day last Saturday for accepted first-year and transfer students. More than 7,000 prospective students and family members joined us from 37 states and 11 countries as far as India to visit our colleges, attend the green and white football game, and catch the excitement at a Breslin Center pep rally. Nearly every academic college participated with 108 informational sessions, plus admissions and Breslin staff volunteers from across campus. I'm happy to report that student deposits went up by more than 700 on Monday alone, and we are ahead of our usual pace at this point of the year. Moving to our personnel today, I would like to begin by recognizing Vice President for University Advancement Marty Heil for her very distinguished career. She has been a key leader in our comprehensive capital campaigns and has most recently been laying groundwork for the next one, and we will honor her later in today's meeting. I'm also excited to recommend Kim Tobin to be the next Vice President for Advancement. Kim has an impeccable record of success in donor and alumni relations with a wonderful ability to engage audiences in transformational philanthropic opportunities. Also on our agenda today, Provost Woodruff is recommending University Distinguished Professor Pero G. Dagbovi as the Associate Provost for Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies and Dean of the Graduate School. And Executive Vice President Beauchamp is recommending College of Human Medicine Interim Dean Aaron Souza's appointment be confirmed as Dean of the College. And finally, as we announced earlier this week, the selection of Christina Brogdon for Vice President for Human Resources and Chief Human Resources Officer, pending your consideration, Board of Trustees members, this morning. All will be vital leaders as we work towards the strategic plan vision of supporting the university's excellence and impact in the coming years. As we welcome new leaders, I would like to recognize the leadership of 2 other Spartans who will soon retire. University physician Dave Weissmantel, who will retire May 16th, has loyally served Michigan State University in a variety of capacities for the past 23 years. This includes leading the Student Health and Wellness Unit as Executive Director, where he helped lay the solid foundation for MSU's long-term health and wellness structure. His counsel and leadership have been especially critical through the dynamic and challenging years of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I want to express my gratitude for his experience and dedication. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge the dedicated career and pending retirement of Michigan State University's longest-serving faculty member, Professor Martin Hawley. Appointed as an assistant professor of chemical engineering in 1964, Dr. Hawley's service to MSU spans a phenomenal 57 years and 8 months. His association with MSU extends even further back as he earned both his bachelor's and doctoral degrees from Michigan State University. He has served in positions including chairman of the Department of Chemical Engineering and Materials Science, director of the Composite Research Center, and senior associate dean of the College of Engineering. The college estimates that Professor Hawley has educated at least 80% of Michigan State University's chemical engineering students, and last year an appreciative alumnus established the Martin C. Hawley Endowed Chair in his honor in the College of Engineering. Congratulations to this amazing and influential Spartan. I now want to touch on some of our recent facility openings. I was pleased to join the ribbon cutting for the new McLaren Healthcare Campus in the University Health Park, marking a new hospital, outpatient care center, and cancer institute. MSU's education and healthcare delivery is based on such community partnerships, and I look forward to pursuing our vision for healthcare with McLaren and with our many other medical partners. As you know, integrating the arts into everything we do is part of the University Arts strategy and the strategic plan. An alumni memorial chapter has been without a working organ for many years, until now. I had the pleasure of helping dedicate the chapel's new custom-built pipe organ in a special recital. I'm happy to report music is back on the banks of the Red Cedar, thanks to the generosity of Spartans and music lovers. Earlier this week, we celebrated the groundbreaking for the School of Packaging's building expansion after a fundraising campaign that, through the generosity of our partners, raised more than $10 million. This project with a new endowed professorship will help the school maintain its leadership in packaging education. Trustee Scott and I will be joining this afternoon's groundbreaking for our Service Road recreational turf fields, which is our first project applying the student recreational facility fee the board approved last year. This new facility, which will be ready for play in the fall, will serve over 8,500 IM sports participants, more than 550 club sport athletes and officials, and many other users, supporting our priority of student health and well-being. And on May 2nd, we'll gather again to cap years of planning, construction, and testing with the opening of the Facility for Rare Isotope Beams, the FRIB. With that, MSU builds on its position as a destination for the global science community, a training ground for the next generation of scientists, and an important asset for our region's economy. I'm excited to see how FRIB contributes to new scientific discoveries, as well as practical applications that improve people's lives. Finally, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. As part of our continuing efforts to address relationship violence and sexual misconduct, I want to remind the community of 2 remaining Zoom listening sessions to share feedback on the RVSM strategic plan. Those sessions are next week at noon on April 25th and at 7 p.m. on April 27th. I want to thank Professor Rebecca Campbell and Deputy Police Chief Andrew Mumford for their continuous leadership in this important area. And with that, I will conclude my remarks. Our next order of business is the gift and grant and contact report. Vice President for Research and Innovation, Doug Gage.
Good morning. Chairperson Byram, members of the Board of Trustees, I request approval of the awards found in the gifts, grant, and contract report. The report period is from January 13th, 2022 through March 23rd, 2022. The total value for this period is $84,511,183.
Is there a motion to approve the gift, grant, and contract report?
Recording in progress.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The gift and grant contract report is approved. Our next order of business is the research presentation. Vice President for Research and Innovation, Doug Gage.
So as we enter the commencement season, it's been our tradition to celebrate student success at the April board meeting, and this year is no exception. We've invited an exceptional undergraduate researcher today. Some of you have already met her at the Winter University event in February. Mariam Syed is an undergraduate senior in the College of Arts and Letters, the College of Natural Science, and the Honors College, and she will soon earn bachelor's degrees in both physiology and French. She aspires to leverage these degrees in her extracurricular activities as a Dean's Research Scholar, Bilingual Research Scholar, Resident Assistant, Chemistry Teaching Assistant, and President of the MSU French Club to attend medical school after graduation. I'm not sure when she sleeps. This is her 9th year studying French, although she knows 5 languages, and she plans to use her language skills to serve in Francophone countries that need medical aid and support. Her hope is to reduce health disparities by serving the underprivileged populations as a culturally accustomed healthcare provider, since many women in conservative communities will not seek medical assistance unless the doctor is also a woman. Her passion is to empower these women to pursue higher education themselves and to become independent individuals who can contribute back to their societies by pursuing careers in STEM and healthcare. Ultimately, her goal is to serve for the international medical organization known as Médecins Sans Frontières. I hope my pronunciation is okay, or Doctors Without Borders. Mariam is a research assistant in the MSU Speech, Language, and Neurocognition Lab, where she is mentored by Dr. Laura Dilley. She currently is investigating technologies to assist marginalized populations like autistic and other non-speaking individuals with new methods of communication, and she will be sharing more about her research with us this morning. This is a timely presentation as April is also Autism Acceptance Month. Before we begin, I would like to congratulate Mariam. She recently learned that she has received a Fulbright Award for the upcoming year and will serve as an instructor, independent researcher, and U.S. Ambassador of Educational and Cultural Exchanges in Morocco. Please welcome Mariam Syed.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Gage. For the record, that was formidable pronunciation. So that was excellent. So I'm Miriam Sayed. I work for Dr. Laura Dilley, and I'll be representing the MSU Speech, Language, and Neurocognition Lab. And my research is focused on fostering societal transformations and attitudes towards neurodivergent populations. I know that's a mouthful, but we're going to start defining all of these terms. So we're going to start with neurodiversity. What exactly is neurodiversity? So this is considered a revolutionary concept for autism and psychiatry today. And basically what this is a growing social movement that categorizes the population into two different groups of people. The first of which is the neurotypical population. And these are individuals who have a neurocognitive function that falls into a socially acceptable range. The second group of individuals are called neurodivergent individuals. And these are individuals who have neural pathways or cognitive functions that are significantly different from what is considered the social norm. And what the neurodiversity movement does is it introduces these individuals who are neurodivergent as profiles of diversity, the same way we do with race, religion, gender, and sexual identities, as having strengths and weaknesses, rather than pathologizing these individuals, as has been done in the clinical sphere over and over again. And what this allows us to do is to remove stigmas, remove stereotypes, and remove labels around these individuals being inherently disabled or inherently inferior to the neurotypical population. And while the neurodiversity movement addresses and describes a number of different identities, which include autism, ADHD, epilepsy, schizophrenia, and a number of other identities, our lab is specifically studying autism. And more specifically, we're focusing on non-speaking autistic individuals. So what does non-speaking mean? Non-speaking basically describes the groups of individuals who are autistic, who have any kind of limited capacity to be able to verbally express themselves. So they have some kind of hindrance when it comes to their ability to speak. And that can present itself in a number of ways, the first of which is stuttering. They can also have repetition of words over and over again, but they can also have a complete inability to be able to produce the sound of speech. And what we see in this upper right-hand corner here, this is what's called an AAC device. This is a standardized device that's being used for every single autistic individual today to be able to communicate with the world around them. And what you see up here, this is an autistic child using a letterboard. This is an AAC device. Again, this is called an augmentative and alternative communication device. And what you see here is that it requires the physical presence of an assistant every single time that this AAC device is being used. Or in other words, every single time that an autistic individual wants to speak to the people around them. And what we see is that 1/3 of the entire autistic population has some kind of limited ability to use speech. In other words, 1/3 of the entire autistic population is considered non-speaking. And the issue with autism is that autism is something that affects every single individual so uniquely that it doesn't make any sense to use a standardized one-size-fits-all device for every single autistic individual. There's no single way to diagnose autism. There's no single way or single litmus test that will tell you that you definitely have autism or you definitely don't have autism. And what we see here with some of the issues with the standardized AAC devices being used today is, one, you have to have the physical presence of another assistant every single time that an autistic individual wants to speak to the people around them, which compromises the reliability in their communication. Another issue is that we see that there's so much diversity within the autistic population that we can't use a one-size-fits-all device and expect it to work for the entire autistic population. Another issue that we see today with these standardized AAC devices is that the training is focused on the assistant. We're focused on making sure that the assistant understands how to use the software, the new software that's being updated every couple of years, instead of focusing on the autistic individual themselves and finding out what is most beneficial for that autistic individual. And the same issue is seen with technology. We're more distracted and more excited about the newest technology that's coming out and updating these AAC devices with what is considered the newest software, instead of making sure that that is the most efficient and effective way to help the autistic individual communicate with the people around them. So what our lab is trying to do is trying to demonstrate that a lack of ability to communicate doesn't necessarily translate to a lack of intelligence or a lack of intellectual capability. And we're trying to demonstrate that autistic individuals do have a desire to communicate. They're intellectually capable of communicating. And the thing that bridges these two things together is finding an AAC device that meets the specific needs of every single individual so they're able to effectively and reliably communicate with the world around them. The way that we're doing that is moving away from what was known as a medical model of disability to something that is now known as a social model of disability, which says that it's the arrangement of society that's the problem, not the disabled person themselves. And what you see here is a woman in a wheelchair and some stairs in front of her. The medical model of disability would have said that it's her impairment that's the problem. The fact that she's in a wheelchair is the issue. So what we should do is we should change her, we should cure her, we should give her prosthetics so that she's able to get up and walk and function like everybody else in society. Or in other words, what's considered the social norm. What the social model says is that the issue is not that she's in a wheelchair. It's not her fault that she's in a wheelchair. The issue here is that we have stairs in front of her when we have the technology and resources to build a ramp. And so what we're trying to show is that you don't need to change the individual in order for them to be able to integrate into society. And one of our previous research studies had actually taken a corpus of 14 self-narratives from non-speaking autistic individuals. And what we did was categorize the sentiments across all of their phrases. And we found that the most expressed sentiment was a desire for change. These were non-speaking autistic individuals who were literary scholars, who were published poets, who were comedians, who had contributed to society in literature and in the arts at large, despite being non-speaking autistic individuals. And they all expressed a desire for change in the way that autistic individuals were being perceived in society, and a desire for change in the number of opportunities that they had when it came to a social, educational, and employment context. So what are we doing in the lab to work towards a solution for these issues? Well, for one, we're replacing this standardized AAC device with something known as a head-mounted eye tracker, which you see on this lady here. So this basically uses visual fixation to visually fixate letters onto a screen, onto a letterboard, and that forms words, and that's able to relay those words to the people around you. And what we see, the benefits with these head-mounted eye trackers is, for one, it gives autistic individuals complete communicative agency. There's no need. It eliminates the need for having a physical presence of some kind of assistant present. So that doesn't compromise the reliability in their speech any longer. It also uniquely fits the needs of many nonverbal autistic individuals who are impaired by some kind of a physical disability. Some autistic individuals don't have the ability to touch the letterboard, and that's why they need an assistant present. And this eliminates the need for that altogether. A previous study that had these head-mounted eye trackers, showing them in comparison with the standardized AAC device, showed that the non-speaking autistic individuals had increased speed, increased fluency, and increased accuracy in their ability to effectively and reliably communicate with the world around them. And finally, there's hardly any training required with these head-mounted eye trackers. As was done with the standardized AAC devices, you'd now no longer need a speech pathologist and an autistic individual to spend hours in a clinic trying to learn a new software that keeps updating itself every couple of years. Instead, you have a machine that's able to do everything by itself, and all you need is the function of the eyes to be able to visually fixate words onto a screen. And so apart from these head-mounted eye trackers and AAC devices, another thing we're doing in the lab is using reframed language that's preferred by neurodivergent, non-speaking autistic individuals. So we're moving away from person-first language. And the concept behind person-first language, which is used in published medical journals today in many major research journals, the idea behind that was that you're a person first before anything else. And what our lab is doing is arguing that identity first is actually more effective. So you're acknowledging the identity before anything else. So if you take, for example, some identity, like an African-American person, you don't describe that person as a person with African-Americanness. You describe them as an African-American person because that's part of their identity and it's an integral part of who they are. And the same applies for autistic individuals. They prefer to be addressed as autistic individuals rather than a person with autism. That implies that they're inherently inferior to the neurotypical population. And so again, what all of this is allowing us to do is to support the neurodiversity movement by recognizing autistic individuals as profiles of diversity rather than as pathologized individuals. So you might be wondering, why does it matter, right? Why is everything that we're doing in this lab, the hours of research that we're putting into finding a new AAC device to replace the standardized device that's been used in clinics, why does it matter? We believe in the lab that history is repeating itself. In the same way that race, religion, gender, and sexual identities have been discriminated against in the past and have had inequity in their access to social, educational, and employment opportunities, we see that the same thing is happening with autistic individuals today. They don't have a voice to voice their opinions. They don't have the means and the resources to be able to express their identity and express their feelings to the people around them, which is limiting their ability in society and in healthcare. And we believe in the lab that access to communication is a fundamental human right, and everybody deserves to freely express themselves, to have equal opportunity, and everyone deserves to have a voice and to be heard by the rest of the individuals in society. Thank you.
Questions for Marion?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I find your presentation very fascinating. I have a 3.5-year-old grandson who does not speak. He's very mobile, has great motor skills, is just starting to form words. And you have some interesting science and approach. I'm wondering how you implement change. I mean, you have some, I mean, and my daughter who's in Spokane, Washington, who's got tremendous resources available to her, cannot get the special ed departments, the departments of education, the people who should be providing these resources to really take this seriously and to provide the resources they need. Of course, having math didn't help either, because the ability to see how words are formed doesn't help. So I'm wondering, how do you, I've been involved in a lot of medical devices and things, and getting doctors and government and Medicare and insurance companies to pay for, a groundbreaking service or equipment is difficult sometimes because people are used to the status quo. You have already experienced a lot of status quo headwinds. So how do you implement change going forward?
That's a great question. So that's pretty much our next step in research. So right now what we've done is found a device that people can be using that replaces a standardized AAC device. And what we're focused on is taking narratives from people who are non-speaking autistic individuals, because who better understands the experience of those people than those people themselves. So what we do is we're working with a lot of people who are non-speaking, who are autistic individuals, who identify with that population, who have contributed to society at large. So these people have done amazing things. They've published, they're authors, they're poets, they're comedians, and those people are advocating. We're basically giving them a platform to advocate, and we're having them come into our lab. We're talking to different clinics, and we're basically giving them a platform to be able to share their experiences with the world and publish this kind of research that shows that the desires, that the sentiments that these non-speaking autistic individuals have and have been silenced in history. Basically what we're doing is giving them that platform to be able to show the world that non-speaking autistic individuals do have a desire to communicate, and they're intellectually capable of doing so. What they lack is the resources.
Let me just ask one last question.
Sure.
The research that you're doing, is it leading to a medical tool that allows autistic children to speak and have their voices heard? Or is it more the consultation and approach that you're trying to get people to adopt?
It's both. So we're using grounded practical theory basically to reanalyze how medical people, so people who are basically speech pathologists, people who are working directly with autistic individuals, how they're working with them, and also with educators. So a lot of this has to do with the way that people are treating individuals. So the reframe language, that has to do with basically working with a new training program, creating a new training program on how to deal with non-speaking autistic individuals. Because the way that we're treating them now, they're just segregated from society. We just have a special ed classroom where they're not integrated with the rest of society. They're not integrated with the other students. And so what we're doing is trying to create a new model. And the way that we have to do that is be able to publish this research. There's millions of steps involved, but this is one of the things that we're doing. So one is using reframe language. The other one is finding a device that works and that is affordable and can be used in clinics. Across any education sphere, any employment context, any social context, and making it accessible to everybody.
Good luck. And
thank
you
you
for your presentation.
Other questions? I just want to again compliment you on the work and the depth of your understanding. As an undergraduate, without minimizing how great our undergraduates are at MSU, it's still tough sometimes to join a lab with complex technical as well as these kind of societal impacts, and to be able to discuss it as eloquently as you can and bring it out in ways all of us, I think, we're able to understand. It's great. I think usually I want to call you Dr. Syed. So it's
my mom would be so happy to hear that.
I will call you Miriam if that's okay. Could you just give us a few minutes on how you found your way to MSU and kind of what are some of the ways that got you to this great, I think, synergistic position in the lab?
Sure. So I think this is one of the more forbidden subjects, but I considered transferring my first year because I was like, I didn't get into one of the universities that I wanted, and I thought that was my first choice. And then I spent my first year here, and I had so many opportunities, it would be absolutely ridiculous for me to transfer to another university. So when I joined here, I was an executive member of the French Club. I was part of the Weilanger Research Scholarship, and I was a part of so many different programs, both in natural science and also in the College of Arts and Letters. And I think a lot of other universities, they have a very locked-in curriculum. You have to follow one single path. Like, you can't pursue physiology and French. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no connection between the both of them. So you have to choose one or the other. and telling my mom that I'm a French major would just not be sufficient. So here at this university, I think it gave me such flexibility to be able to pursue what I wanted. You don't have to limit your capabilities and your talents and whatever you're interested in, all of your passions. You can combine them and carve your own path. Carve your own career path, basically. And that's what MSU allowed me to do. I'm able to pursue physiology and French. And the way that I put them together, as Dr. Gage explained, is I'm interested in working with underprivileged and marginalized populations that are minority populations in the Francosphere. So basically in the world where French is spoken and French language has been implemented because those areas were colonized, there's a lot of populations that are underrepresented in medicine and in healthcare. And I'm really interested in working with those populations. So as Dr. Gage mentioned, one of the biggest things is women's health. So in women's health, in a lot of these populations, I come from a pretty conservative and traditional background. And a lot of the women who come from these areas, even though they speak a different language, they have the same exact experience that we grew up seeing. And what that is that a lot of women who are in these areas, they won't grow up and get educated. They don't have access to an education, or they're not willing to get educated, or they'll prioritize marriage over education. And what happens is a lot of those women who have some kind of, they need treatment. They need to get, treated. They need to see a doctor regularly. And they refuse to seek treatment because there's not enough women in those populations who are doctors. They don't go and get an education. They don't pursue, education in healthcare and in STEM and in these fields. And so because they're not able to see a female physician, these female patients won't go and see them, and they'll just refuse to get any treatment at all. And so what I'm interested in doing is going back to those populations and helping fill that gap between female patients and female physicians. And that really would have been impossible for me to do without having a university that supports me so well in both the College of Arts and Letters and also in the College of Natural Science. So thank you, MSU.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I guess Rima has her hand
Oh,
up
I'm
too.
sorry.
Just for the
Yeah.
record.
So Rima and then
Yeah.
Trustee Kanaki. Yes.
Oh, wow. So someone was able to find my hand. Thank you, Trustee Steve. I think it was you. Let me raise this. So it's always a pleasure, Ms. Syed, to hear from you. Your challenges of structures and use of empowering language for individuals calls for systems and environment change, and it's refreshing. We know the evolution of language is really, really important in thinking about how we pose questions. And you, in your challenge to deficit language, you're doing that work. So it's not that you have to come up with a solution to all things that ail us. This problem posing, this reframing of individuals and how they want to be really, really, and it is, as President said, doctoral level work. So it's not going to be maybe next week. That's coming soon, I'm sure. I'm just so happy for your success and excited about this important research. I'm encouraged by your devotion to marginalized folks around the world. And MSU is fortunate to be a part of your story. Please keep us abreast of when you're serving all these folks around the world that are minoritized. And just know also that you're so very necessary, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rima Bassar, from the bits and pieces that I heard. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. And I'm very lucky to be surrounded by the mentors, and the professionals that I've had in my career. If it wasn't for the faculty, if it wasn't for the mentors, if it wasn't for the Board of Trustees, the president, the provost, everybody who's literally supported me in my career, I wouldn't be here today. So thank you to you as well.
Yeah, I just had a quick follow-up really to President Stanley's question about what got you here. I couldn't help but notice that you've been awarded a Fulbright. And as a Fulbright myself, I'm biased, and I was recently named a Fulbright ambassador, alumni ambassador.
Congratulations.
So I can tell already you're going to be a fabulous ambassador yourself. But I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing with the Fulbright.
Yes, absolutely. So from what we know, there's a lot that we still don't know. So we still have to find out about our city of placement and stuff. That'll happen in the coming weeks. But what I do know is that what I applied for was an ETA position with an availability to also do independent research. So I'll be teaching at a university in Morocco. And I'm hoping to do basically lead a club, an extracurricular club that focuses on women's empowerment going into STEM and into healthcare. And so we'll be working on, there's a big issue in Morocco where a lot of students, they grow up learning the traditional language, which is Darija Arabic in that area. And then when they come to the university, they just automatically start teaching French. And so a lot of students drop out of school because they're not able to keep up with the language. And so we're trying to build that, fill that gap that's missing there. And then I'll hopefully be also pursuing independent research while I'm there. So that will be the upcoming academic year.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Trustee Kelly.
Yeah, thank you. So that was a great presentation. After having watched it, who's your favorite Disney character? You don't have to answer.
I just had a
Yes, Trustee Scott.
hopefully I can call you Miriam. I feel like we know each other now. I just have to say, every single time I've heard you speak, I'm just mesmerized and amazed. You make us look good. You make Michigan State look good. We're very proud of you, and I just want you to know and just to be publicly acknowledged that you are the best that we have to present to the world. And we have so many other students like you, and I just thank you for continuing to tell that story about why MSU versus somewhere else, because we did have these conversations just yesterday about the ability of students to change their majors or go in different tracks, and that we don't just pigeonhole you when you come here. And that is something that a lot of people look to as being the difference maker for them. And so I love to hear you say that. We're just wishing you the best, and I just want you to know I'm one of your biggest fans. So
Thank you so much.
I would echo that. This is the second time I've heard you speak, Miriam, and I continue to be amazed and extremely proud that you are a Spartan. You will be a Spartan for life here in just a few weeks once you graduate, and you will be a great ambassador. So please keep us informed as to your life's travels. We want to enjoy that happiness and that success with you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank you, Dr. Byram. And thank you, everybody else who was here today. Thank you for the questions and comments. It was a pleasure to be here today. So thank you.
thank you.
All right, we're now going to move to personnel actions and information reports. I'm from Provost Woodruff.
Trustees, I present for approval the following items on the April 2022 list of personnel actions. I present for approval the following faculty appointments. Dorothy R. Carter, PhD, Associate Professor, Department of Psychology with tenure, effective August 16, 2022. Nathan T. Carter, PhD, Professor, Department of Psychology with tenure, effective August 16, 2022. James Moran, PhD, Associate Professor, Department of Integrative Biology with tenure, effective August 16, 2022. The action also includes the recommendation of Robert Fouts-Gajan, Professor and Chairperson of the Department of Small Animal Clinical Sciences, fixed term, for a change in status to Professor with tenure, Department of Small Animal Clinical Sciences, effective May 1, 2021. The action also includes the following administrative appointments for approval. Christina K. Brodgen, PHR, MBA, Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer, Office of Human Resources, effective June 1, 2022. And Kimberly Tobin, PhD, Vice President of University Advancement, effective May 1, 2022. The action also includes the recommendation that the executive management title of Vice President for Finance be reinstated for a revised title of Vice President, Financial Planning and Analysis, and that all applicable policy documents be revised to reflect the new title effective April 2022. I'm pleased to recommend Peril G. Dagbovi, PhD, University Distinguished Professor and Associate Dean of the Graduate School, for a change in title to Associate Provost for Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies and Dean of the Graduate School, effective April 11, 2022. Finally, the action includes the recommendation of Aaron C. Sousa, MD, Professor of Medicine and Interim Dean of the College of Human Medicine, for appointment as Dean of the College of Human Medicine, effective April 1, 2022. Also included in your materials are information reports for academic personnel actions. That completes my report, President Stanley.
Thank you, Provost. Is there a motion to approve the personnel actions?
So moved.
And I heard a second. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question. Brianna has a question.
Yes.
What about the approval for Robert Fouts-Gajan?
So he arrived in COVID, and due to immigration concerns, he was not able to have the status that we identify in the motion today. He was hired as fixed term, but was not able to join us until now. So we're rectifying that in arrears.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The personnel actions are approved. Next, we will move to committee reports and other items requiring board approval. Trustee Melanie Foster will now present the Committee on Budget and Finance report.
Thank you, President Stanley. As chairperson of the Trustee Committee on Budget and Finance, I present that the board hereby adopts the basic residence hall double room and board rate of $10,990 for first-year residents who select the Silver Unlimited Meal Plan for the 22-23 academic year, and adopts the basic residence hall double room and board rate of $10,676 for second-year residents who select the Silver Unlimited Meal Plan for the 22-23 academic year. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Any
VP
discussion?
Gore is
Yes.
prepared to speak.
Thank you, Trustee Foster and all the trustees. We're asking for a 2.94 rate increase. We've seen unprecedented inflation. Most of us who go to a grocery store see it. We've had some of our costs go up as much as 35% in the last year. So we're asking this for our first year students coming in this fall.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to first applaud under VP Gore's leadership, our award-winning RHS program. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, we exhausted all of our reserves in RHS, which has resulted in not being able to do capital renewal projects for the past couple of years. But the good news is that RHS is going to make a significant profit at the end of fiscal year 22. And I advocate that those profits be used to offset the need for an increase.
Any other discussion? Hearing none then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? The motion carries.
As chairperson of the Trustee Committee on Budget and Finance, I move that the board authorizes the administration to plan for the project entitled Farm Lane Bridge Replacement and Infrastructure Improvements.
Do I have a support for that motion?
Support.
So moved.
Dan
Discussion.
Bowman is prepared to speak.
Good morning. The Farm Lane Bridge was built in 1914 and it's deteriorated to the point where it needs to be replaced. It's basically just tired. As part of the planning for the bridge, though, we'd like to look at the Farm Lane corridor from Auditorium Road to Wilson Road and look at upgrading utilities, infrastructure, add bike lanes, ADA, and other safety improvements. So this is just a plan for a project that'll occur sometime in the next probably 2 to 4 years.
Any other discussion? Well, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
As chairperson of the Trustee Committee on Budget and Finance, I move that the board hereby authorizes the administration to proceed with the project entitled Football Complex Renovation and Addition, Phase 1. Be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees of Michigan State University hereby grants a variance to the university zoning ordinance to permit construction within a building setback.
Thank you. Do I have support for that motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Dan Bowman is prepared to comment.
So improvements to the football complex are critical to maintain the football program's competitiveness and really to build on the momentum that's been established by Coach Tucker and AD Haller over the last couple of years. This project is really focused on student athlete success and well-being. It's going to add spaces like student wellness support, athletic recovery, improved locker rooms, equipment rooms, strength and conditioning, a player lounge, and other amenities that focus on athletic health and well-being. What we're asking for today is just a partial approval. So we want to get started with foundations, selective demolition, structural steel. And then in June, when we finish design and finished all the bidding, we'll come back with a complete budget and a complete design for the board to review.
Can you please identify the source of funds for this?
It's a 100% donor-funded project.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries.
As chairperson of the Trustee Committee on Budget and Finance, I move that the board hereby authorizes the administration to proceed with a project entitled Spartan Stadium Facility Upgrades North and East Bowl Restoration and Spartan Stadium Facility Upgrades Audio Upgrades.
Support.
Thank you. Discussion.
Dan Bowman.
So not a real exciting project, but a really critical one. So Spartan Stadium is approaching 100 years old. And when you have a concrete structure exposed to weather in Michigan, you have deterioration. So this is making needed structural repairs. It's adding coatings to the treads and risers, adding expansion joints. And then also the audio system is beyond its useful life. And we need to replace the audio system, not only for safety, for emergency events, but also for the fan experience.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. We will now hear from the Committee on Academic Affairs by Chair Diane Byron.
Thank you, President Stanley. As chairperson of the Trustee Committee on Academic Affairs, I move that the board hereby approves the amendments to the bylaws for academic governance shown in attachment A. And these changes are largely due to their ability to call meetings and the meeting schedule.
Do I have support for that motion?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, this concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the Committee on Audit, Risk, and Compliance. Trustee Kelly.
Thank you, President Stanley. As chairperson of the Trustee Committee on Audit, Risk, and Compliance, I move that the board approve the following: a service agreement with Fibros 9, a service agreement with Great Lakes Crystal Technologies, a rights allocation agreement with Great Lakes Crystal Technology, a service agreement with Great Lakes Crystal Technologies, a sponsored research agreement with AeroQ Corporation, an assignment agreement with Stephen Hugh, an option agreement with Portera Therapeutics, a sponsored research agreement with Redox Blocks, Inc., a sponsored research agreement with Infrastructure Analytics Company.
Could I have support for that motion?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, I continue to have an issue with the conflict of interest disclosure there on these contract forms. And I would hope that the administration deals with a better, more best practice type of disclosure relative to those contracts.
Any other discussion?
I think there's agreement with Trustee O'Keefe on that.
I would agree with that as well.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
This concludes my report.
Thank you. We will now hear from the Committee on Student Life and Culture from Trustee Scott.
Thank you, President Stanley. The board received updates on the DEI efforts and initiatives and the multicultural site. I'd like to note that the Turf Recreation groundbreaking event is today at 1 p.m. I hope some of you will come out and join us. Student success and sustainable health are a fundamental pillar of our strategic plan. And we believe that success in college is not only about academic success, but also the physical, emotional, and mental health of our students. I'm honored to be able to represent the board today at the groundbreaking event. This concludes my report.
Thank you so much. We will now hear liaison's report, the chairperson's report, and trustee comments. Trustee Diane Byron.
So for the liaison committees, Dr. Anthony for the faculty.
Yes. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The Faculty Senate welcomes this opportunity to give remarks. This year, Faculty Senate has worked in good faith with the administration to restore compensation and benefits for faculty and academic staff. Through clear communication, collaborative approaches, and focused understanding, we have now had numerous conversations on this matter. Thank you. We look forward to a positive outcome. As a body, the Faculty Senate has conducted its business regularly. We have endorsed the new discipline and sanctions policy, which we believe will be both impactful and transformational for the university and for the integrity of the caring and committed faculty that are part of this phenomenal institution. We have worked to support the Caregiving Task Force as it prepares to submit preliminary recommendations for your consideration. The challenges that have presented themselves in the last couple of years have confirmed more than ever the caregiving needs of our constituents and MSU community members. We are in full support of enhanced caregiving assistance for the entire Michigan State University community. This is, we believe, good work. We want to take this opportunity to thank Senator Mick Fulton, to my right, for his service as chair of the University Committee on Faculty Affairs. He has chaired the UCFA as they considered the discipline and sanctions policy, compensation restoration, and the professor emeritus or emerita policy. Thank you, Senator Fulton, for your service. We also want to thank at-large members, Senator Megan Donahue, Senator Deanne Simone, and Senator Andrea Kepso. Senator Jack Lipton, who is chair of the University Committee on Academic Governance, Dr. Scott Emberman, who is professor of economics, and Dr. Matthew Comstock, chair of the UCFA Budget Subcommittee, for their tireless engagement in this good and necessary work of the Faculty Senate. We also celebrate the retirements and distinguished careers of many MSU faculty members who have contributed to the success of this institution. Congratulations to each of them. We are proud and wish them well on their new, much-deserved, exciting journeys. On behalf of Dr. Karen Kelly Blake and I would like for you to know that we have been honored to serve as chair and vice chair of the MSU Faculty Senate. It has not only been an honor, but an opportunity to make a positive difference for faculty, for staff, and for our students. For the record and beyond the obvious, we are also the first fixed-term faculty to ever serve as both chair and vice chair. Therefore, it has been a double honor to represent the interest of MSU faculty. On a more somber note, we wish to acknowledge President Stanley, Provost Woodruff, CDO Bennett, and other executive administrative leaders who have issued caring comments concerning the execution-style killing of Mr. Patrick Lyoya. As shared previously, your remarks have conveyed your care and your support. Thank you for that, and thank you to the board. We now ask that your advocacy be transferred to actionable steps in whatever ways that you can. In view of the university's deep roots in the Grand Rapids community, we encourage the board to engage in some action that will produce tangible, real-world outcomes for those in the Grand Rapids community who are suffering from over-policing and racial battle fatigue. We want you to know that academic governance is working. We are working, and you certainly are working. Thank you. Let us continue to engage in this work together for the good and the well-being of the entire MSU community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. And our student liaisons. So thank you for your partnership with the Board of Trustees this past year. I know you've had recent elections. There will be a transfer of power, and we very much look forward to working with the new leadership representing the student liaisons.
I'm actually going to go stand up. So I think it's easier. I turned it on, but oh well. Okay, hi everyone. Today I'm joined by outgoing COGS President Sarah Hugentobler, incoming COGS President Hannah Jeffrey, RHA President Caitlin Bolton, and at-large Representative Maisha Johnson. I'll start with COGS updates.
At the March Council of Graduate Students Full Council meeting, a new executive board was elected for the 2022-2023 academic year. COGS is pleased to announce that all elected positions were filled. Joining us today in the room is Hannah Jeffrey, the incoming COGS president. At our April meeting, the board was filled with the confirmation of our appointed positions. We are excited to see what this new board will achieve on behalf of graduate and professional students. RHA's updates. As for legislation, we have 2 to report. As you must know, there are certain departments, programs, and incentives on campus that are in much need of a revamp and more support. One of these departments in need is the Gender and Sexuality Campus Center. For the second time this year, RHA has allocated $10,000 towards the center on campus. Although RHA is more than happy to allocate these funds in order to support our LGBTQ+ students on campus, we implore you to look into and help support VPSLE Venny Gore to figure out a way to better support our departments on campus that help our students the most. Our departments are not receiving the aid that they need, nor are on par with our sibling schools. The supplies, travel, and operations budget of MSU's GSCC is $17,205. Meanwhile, the University of Wisconsin's Gender and Sexuality Campus Center has $55,300. University of Minnesota's Minnesota's Gender and Sexuality Center for Queer and Trans Life is at $40,000, and just down the road, University of Michigan Spectrum Center has $84,000. There's reason to believe that this money was allocated to these centers because they are needed more than ever. I implore you to take time to support our students and the workers in the SLE departments, such as the GSCC, that help the students the most. A second important piece of legislation is to call the Board of Trustees, President Stanley, and MSU to include a pool and aquatic center in the new IM facility. At the beginning of this year, a presentation was given to the Student Leaders Council about what the student fitness tax would be put towards. We were shown a beautiful facility that included everything that students wanted. This presentation showed us a facility with a beautiful aquatic center for students. We agreed to that facility. Students agreed to that facility. Currently, RHA has a seat on the Health, Wellness, and Fitness Center Planning Committee, and that is when we learned that the current plans for the facility have changed and that the new facility currently will not include an aquatic center. While the committee and students have a variety of opinions on most aspects of this new center, there is one that we have all been able to agree on. The new fitness facility needs to have an aquatic center. Not including this aquatic facility will be one of the biggest mistakes that you all make. There are 2 available aquatic centers available on campus for students, IM West and IM Circle. And with the destruction of the IM West facility, one of those will be taken away. These pools are needed for students for a variety of reasons. It is needed for accessibility of non-stressful fitness on those who might not be able to participate in any other kind of cardiovascular or any other type of fitness, for fundamental educational reasons, rehabilitation and physical therapy of athletes and students, club intramural sports such as our award-winning water polo team, synchronized swim team, club swim, and dozens of RSOs. And finally, it is a place where students can go to de-stress. From what RHA has been told, this facility is being built in order to give more resources for our students and to be on par with our benchmark schools when these fitness facilities are considered. Not including a pool in this new facility will result in failures on both of these goals. Trustees, please do not let our students down and go on to approve the building of a pool in this new facility. While RHA supports our swim and dive students and urge the board to reconsider that decision, this legislation isn't about that. It is about the thousands of students who depend and are asking for some sort of aquatic facility in this new facility, and it is your duty to build this facility for us, for the students. Finally, along with ASMSU, RHA is pleased to announce the newly elected RHA president. She is not here today, but her name is Belle Lechner, and she was voted by our 52nd session to preside over the 53rd session General Assembly. She will begin on the first day of the summer semester. We will keep you all in the loop concerning the election and hiring of the rest of our board, but this is what RHA has for you today. This is my last time to think that I will sit in front of you all today and listen and report to all of you. It is crazy to think that next year I will just be Caitlin Bolden and not President Bolden, but I am excited to go into my last year at this university to hopefully help some other groups of students somewhere. However, I did just want to personally thank you all for the support that you have given me and the students I represent for the past 2 years. So on behalf of myself and my team, we just want to say thank you and please keep doing the work you are doing. For some at-large updates, Some Ramadan participants living on campus have expressed gratitude for having prepackaged breakfast options in the dining halls, prayer rooms on campus, as well as student organizations and other Lansing resources to support them. However, students have expressed concerns about having more time in the cafeteria after breaking their fast. They currently have less than an hour. Students have also asked for prayer rooms in every neighborhood on campus. Many Muslims break their fast at nighttime, and this may be an inconvenient time to travel on campus. Also, there currently aren't any designated prayer rooms in East or South neighborhoods, and the prayer rooms for North and River Trail are in the libraries, so having reflection rooms or prayer rooms in every residence hall would be ideal. Thank you, Board of Trustees and Vice President Benny Gore, for agreeing to increase the promotion of the current resources available for Muslim students in the future. And finally, for ASMSU's updates, of which I'm the president, I am pleased to announce that ASMSU has selected its undergraduate student body office of the president over the past couple of nights. These meetings lasted from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., and chairing these elections is why I'm exhausted and knocked my nameplate off the table, so you'll have to forgive me for that. But most importantly, joining us today in this room is Jordan Kovach, the student body president-elect. Joe, will you stand up if you're not already standing? Joe and their team of vice presidents and chief officers will be taking on their roles as the senior leadership team for the undergraduate student body on the first day of the summer semester, which is May 16th. Jordan is joined by Vipul Adesumili, the incoming vice president for finance and operations, Aaron Idaralde, the returning vice president for academic affairs, Ishan Modi, the returning vice president for governmental affairs, Austin Grondin, the incoming Vice President for Internal Administration, and Hedy Omar, the incoming Vice President for Student Allocations. A month ago, ASMSU also hired its 2 chief officers for the 22-23 academic year, including Chief of Staff Jack Harrison and Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer Nadir Hamid. Secondly, today is Earth Day, and this past week has been Earth Week, and I am tremendously proud to state that ASMSU has worked with and co-sponsored legislation with MSU Sunrise Movement, who spoke to you today, and has passed countless pieces of green legislation. Our internal sustainability team, Cody Evans and Emily Hoyempa, successfully planned a week of programming to provide resources for and teach about the sustainability movement. I'm hopeful that the eloquence of today's speakers and their calls not for a better future, but a future period does not go unanswered. I'm also hopeful that the questions asked pertaining to calls for transparency in this process also do not go unanswered. I'm sure that President-elect Kovach and the rest of the incoming Office of the President for ASMSU can tell you that they will not stop advocating for these things, but advocacy is just that, a request for action. We all need you to follow through on what this community so desperately needs and what the world so desperately needs. I also want to reflect on the statements from the previous athletes of the MSU Swim and Dive team, the MSU Swim Club, and members of Battle for Spartan Swim and Dive. Similarly to the topic I just discussed, ASMSU is standing legislation supporting the effort of reinstatement, as well as identifying creative solutions in our advocacy to get the decision makers back to the table. The administrators I routinely meet with as student body president have never responded to me when it has to do with Spartan Swim and Dive. I can only characterize this response as bizarre, considering that I have never been treated this way on any other topic before. Based on my conversations with these folks fighting for reinstatement, I have learned that similarly, no one has bothered to answer their questions or work with them. These folks have found solutions for the obstacles cited that initially led to the canceling of the program, and yet I have heard no response to this. Logically, it makes absolutely no sense to me. You at least owe these folks an explanation for why somehow this is all still insufficient. I truly hope that the lack of reinstatement is not because the university doesn't want to have made a decision to rather quickly reverse it. Being a leader myself, I have learned that I am going to be wrong sometimes, and if I never listen to people when they tell me this, I've effectively told my constituents that I know better than them on all topics. Being trusted to do a job doesn't mean I've never had to reconfigure my answer to something or had to apologize for a misstep. I've learned that that's leadership, way more than constant reassertion that I won't change my decision when presented with viable and constant data, telling that perhaps I have made a mistake. Though I cannot reinstate this team unilaterally, I hope that this profoundly strong community of people knows that the undergraduate student government stands behind you and also can't make sense of the lack of logic that has followed this process. My heart goes out to you, even though my own personal competitive swim involvement ended with the diagnosis of a chlorine allergy. I hear you, and ASMSU will always be willing to continue the fight. Finally, this is my last time addressing and working with the Board of Trustees, and I'd like to say that I'm hopeful that my successor and their team can continue to use this avenue for advocacy. I will genuinely miss attending these meetings and liaison to the board from ASMSU, but I will be honest, I am looking forward to retiring from my position and get back to just being Georgia. Thank you for all of your time and your invitation into this space, and I wish all of you the best in the future. This concludes the report from the student liaisons. As always, Sarah, Maisha, Caitlin, and I, as well as our successors, are available to respond to and promote student concerns, and we welcome engagement from the board, administration, faculty, and most importantly, students. Thanks.
Thank you again, Georgia and student liaisons.
It's also Georgia's birthday. Yeah.
Oh, well, and
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Georgia. So as chairperson of the board, I want to start my comments by acknowledging our public speakers today and thank you for taking the time to address the board. We do listen to you and we do take your comments into consideration as we deliberate on the business of the university. This is a celebration about students, and so if you would bring up the screen, this is the time of year that we recognize our Board of Trustee Scholarship awardees. It would have been wonderful to have them in person with us today, but there are 175 of them. And when we tried to logistically figure out, and keeping with fire safety and everyone's safety, we decided that we would continue to have them scrolled up on the board. So please, as the screen scrolls, read the names of our recipients. They will be recognized at an in-person reception before graduation, of which I know several trustees will be in attendance. They will include not only the scholarship awardee, their parents, and they frequently invite someone from their college. So it's a wonderful event. We get a chance to hear what their future plans are, and it's always a very exciting time, and I take personal pride in listening to all these wonderful stories. And so this year, with 175 of them, I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of wonderful stories. But each one of these scholarship recipients receives a certificate acknowledging their award, but also, more importantly, they get a $1,000 check from the Board of Trustees. So these are the brightest of our students graduating. They receive a 4.0 GPA. So it's an exciting time for them. And so I know it's going to take 2 minutes, which is why I'm rambling a little bit here. I don't want to shortchange any of these students. And I'm, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing them and shaking their hand, congratulating them, and learning more about their future plans. And if you were around campus yesterday, which I'm sure most of you were, with the beautiful weather, you also saw Spartans posing for pictures at Sparty in their cap and gown. And all I could say, it was 4 o'clock. We were on our way over to tour Jenison, and I thought, spring is here. Hallelujah, spring is here. But it's a wonderful time of year. I know it's a source of pride for the teaching-focused faculty, for members of our tenured faculty, and all of those that touch the lives of a student as they spend their first 4 years and beyond here at Michigan State. So the screen is now back without any of the students scrolling. So I hope you had a chance to just see a little bit of the students' names. And because I think brevity is more, so less is always more, I'm going to go right to acknowledging a retirement. Marty Heil, I believe you're here. Would you please stand, Marty? I want us to be able to see your face. Marty is somebody that's very familiar here on campus, but she's also retiring, and she's going to close that chapter at Michigan State University. Really, this is your second chapter here. Your second chapter here, but you will be starting a new chapter in your life. And as Board of Trustees, we have a resolution, and I want to read it and to be able to share it with you today because we do very much appreciate your service. So the Michigan State University Board of Trustees today extends to Vice President for Advancement, Marty K.S. Heil, its deep appreciation for her years of dedicated service to this university, its students, employees, leadership, and alumni. Born and raised in Lansing, Marty Heil is a 1976 graduate of MSU's College of Communication Arts and Sciences and with a bachelor's degree in advertising. She began her dedicated service to this university on March 21st, 1980, working her way through the ranks as development officer. She was promoted to the role of Associate Vice President for University Development in 1996, where she helped lead the university through the Advancing Knowledge, Transforming Lives capital campaign, raising more than $1.4 billion. In 2009, Marty officially retired from MSU and joined the Indiana University Foundation as Senior Vice President for Development, where she spent 4 years managing principal and individual gifts, regional campuses, annual giving, talent management, and marketing communications. She then became the Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations at Virginia Commonwealth University in April 2017. Marty Heil was called out of retirement by her alma mater in October 2018 to oversee development and alumni relations and to help MSU complete its most recent Empower Extraordinary campaign, a capital campaign, which ultimately raised more than $1.8 billion in critical financial support for the university. You're right. Say thank you for that. Most recently, she began laying the groundwork to position MSU for success in its next capital campaign. Her long-standing relationship with alumni, donors, and university personnel, along with her lifetime of experience, have left an indelible mark on university advancement at MSU. In addition to a lifetime of professional service to MSU, Vice President Heil has been a long-time and faithful financial supporter, making her first gift to the Essential Edge Fund in 1980. This past year, she was recognized in the prestigious Snyder Donor Society for her lifetime contributions to MSU. For the vital relationship she has forged with financial supporters of MSU throughout her extensive career, her dedication and leadership, and in appreciation of her personal philanthropic support, the Michigan State University Board of Trustees offers its deep gratitude to Marty Heil on her retirement. Would someone please, I will move, will someone please support? So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Marty, thank you for your service. We very much appreciate you, and we wish you Godspeed in your retirement. Thank you. That concludes my report, President Stanley. My comments.
Trustee Kelly.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Marty. I'd like to also note and congratulate the Board of Trustees Scholarship Awardees and all of the graduates. And if you'll indulge me, one of those graduates happens to be my son. So my wife and I are very proud and happy. We're proud that that's our fourth MSU graduate, all of whom graduated on time and all of whom have jobs. We're also, thank you, by the way, but we're also happy that after 15 straight years of having wrote checks to MSU, we're done. So.
No. Now you can do a philanthropic donor.
Yeah, right. Not enough for a while. Yeah, right. All right, that's my report. Thank you.
Checkbook out.
Yeah.
Trustee Foster.
Thank you. First, I'd like to direct your attention to this beautiful crystal award over here. The STEM Teaching and Learning Facility, which is what this award represents, continues to be recognized for its innovation and exceptionalism, with recent recognition by the Associated General Contractors of America for 2021's most significant project in the entire United States. Last month, STEM and the project delivery team were selected as the sole recipient of AGC's 2022 AGC Build America Grand Award, rising above nearly 24 other national Build America Award winners. The Build America Award recognizes the nation's most impressive construction projects across all building, highway, and transportation, utility infrastructure, federal, and heavy sectors. Projects are selected based on demonstrated achievements in state-of-the-art advancement, project management, innovation and construction techniques or materials, safety record, client service, community relations, environmental sensitivity, and partnering excellence. MSU's STEM teaching and learning facility merged adaptive reuse with flexible learning infrastructure and sustainable mass timber materials to transform the long-abandoned Shaw Lane Power Plant into a state-of-the-art learning space for science, technology, engineering, and math. STEM is the first building in the state of Michigan constructed with mass timber cross-laminated timber technology. As anyone who's visited the building since its public opening last fall can attest, STEM is a magnet for MSU students and truly exceptional learning and gathering space. So I'd like to congratulate Granger Construction, who built the project, and especially our fine folks at IPF, led by Dan Bowman, for your leadership in this project. And it is truly an exceptional space. If no one's been there, I really advocate you do a walkthrough. I'd like to thank Dean Beauchamp, VP Beauchamp and Dean Souza for putting together a fabulous tour of our Flint medical programs earlier this month that I toured with Trustee T-Bay. It was great meeting with our faculty, our students, and especially the community representatives that are so passionate about Flint. I'd also like to acknowledge that earlier this week, under Rodney Winokur, we won a jazz competition at Lincoln Center, that there were 8 invitees, university invitees, and Michigan State University finished #1 in that competition. Also, it was great participating last Saturday in the Izzo Legacy Run, although I walked, but they had over 3,000 participants. This was the third year the Izzo family has done the run, and they have raised over $400,000 for our local charities. So the Izzo family are truly, as our Spartan family, so give back to our community. I'd also like to thank Marty. It's been a pleasure to work with you over the decades, and especially thank you for coming back in 2018 in a real time of need for this university. So thank you. I consider you a great friend. I'd like to congratulate my colleague Renee Kanaki Jefferson on her nomination for the Democrat Board of Trustees. And finally, just congratulate all of the graduating class of 2022 and our Board of Trustee Award scholarships. Thank you.
Trustee Kaneki Jefferson.
Thank you. So I want to acknowledge all of our graduates and also our Earth Day. I want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues and keep my comments short as well. So I will just respond very briefly to some of the public comments, because I always appreciate when anyone takes the time to not just get up early in the morning to join us, but to speak out on issues that you're passionate about. And this is what we need in our world. So I thank you for that. And in particular, I want to say thank you to Dr. Brahinsky and Dr. Rodriguez-Perea for coming and speaking with us about our teaching-focused faculty. I got my start on this campus as a teaching-focused faculty member, and so I especially appreciate the concerns raised in particular about the ability to have a voice and a vote, and also the stark data that we were presented with in terms of the salary disparity in contrast to other institutions and even within our own. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. It's important work, not easy work, and thank you for representing our very, very important teaching-focused family. In fact, well, faculty and family, right? We are a family. I also want to say thank you to the Sunrise representatives, and again, happy Earth Day to all of you. Thank you for making time to push us to do more and to think hard about how we can, and also in that vein, recognizing the work of Dr. Lamore and the other members of the MSU Ad Hoc University Sustainable Investment Working Group. I think I got that right. I appreciate you giving us questions. Some of the questions that we were given I can answer, some of them I cannot.
And so I'm asking our Secretary Scarsoni, to help us all have the answers to those questions, because I think that that is important for us to do. And on that note, I think I will close out by saying go green, because it's appropriate, especially on Earth Day, right? So go green.
Trustee O'Keefe.
Thank you. Happy Earth Day. I'd like to take this opportunity to really promote our STEM program, which I know is near and dear to Provost Woodruff's heart. And I look at all the youth and enthusiasm in the student body and realize that there's productive change in our future. I think this is the third straight meeting that Sunrise Development has expressed their opinions on the environment and fossil fuels. You are clearly passionate about the earth. My strong recommendation, though, is that perhaps you should consider seeking a STEM degree to be part of the research that is going to be required. This will be a long road to hoe. For long as I can remember, the so-called experts have predicted the earth is coming to an end, at least for 50 years. And yet, here we are. The world is not ending in 2030, 2035, or any random date in the future. At the current pace, there may not be a solution until at least 2100. As unpalatable as that sounds, we need to pick up the pace. The issue is energy. We consume a lot of it. It impacts every aspect of our life. Even whale blubber has been around in indigenous communities and is still used. It seems like forever. Fossil fuels are not going away anytime soon. The issue of divestment is a gross oversimplification of a very complex problem. Elon Musk, a visionary, has noted for electric vehicles to be charged, the electric grid needs to be increased twofold just for vehicles. Of course, this is in the face of an inadequate grid currently demonstrated by brownouts in Texas and the Northeast. Of course, the very electricity that we rely upon is powered by coal, perhaps the dirtiest fuel. Nobody wants nuclear power in their backyard, which is a solution, with the reminder of 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl. Then, of course, is the environmental issues associated with the mining of lithium, nickel, and cobalt, precious metals used to make batteries that are not in great supply in the US. You want to understand the reason people fight for Afghanistan and Ukraine? That is where those precious metals are mined in great abundance by people who have no regard for the earth and use child labor like it's toilet paper. Electric vehicles don't seem to be the solution in its current state. Wars with countries with precious metals is now the new version of the M&A activity. It may be interesting to follow the geopolitical landscape. Solar may work in sunny areas like Florida, but not so much in the Midwest. Solar's issue is storage. It is hard to inventory solar energy when you need it. Wind power is bad for wildlife, and again, it's an intermittent power source not in abundance. Wind simply runs counter to needs. It generates too much power when we need it and generates too little when we need more. The storage capacity to account for this doesn't exist yet. Landfills filled with scrap windmills also destroy the earth. General Motors, who can't meet the governmental EPA standards by 2030, has made the robust proclamation that their production will be all EV. Toyota, the largest automaker in the world, laugh at such goals in assertion because they understand the environmental problem with batteries, the inadequacy of the electrical grid, without even addressing the earth with battery disposal. Electrifying the auto fleet will require a massive overhaul of the power grid and an enormous increase in power generation, which does not exist today in a clean form. We can expect improvements, but they won't come without a cost. Nothing does. There is no free lunch. Toyota has publicly warned about this. And GM may be virtue signaling to win favor with those in power because they cannot meet the EPA standards and they will need the government help to stay in business. But by the way, Toyota isn't saying this can't be done. It's just saying so far, the conversation isn't anywhere near serious enough to get things done. You can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. There is no one who doesn't believe in protecting the earth. As long as we have a need for energy, we will probably use fossil fuels. This is based that when energy is found, it is usually additive and not displacing. There are lots of problems to be solved, and I see all the great young minds in this room with hopes that you can solve them. We need investment and lots of it. We also need passionate and creative minds. Perhaps there is a bigger role for you to play. So as not to address a problem without a solution, perhaps a STEM degree. I know Provost Woodruff has taken applications, and MSU is making a huge commitment in this area. We need passionate and creative minds to solve our energy problems. Why not you? And in final, I'd like to congratulate Marty Heil on a great retirement. You have shown an indefatigable attitude towards supporting MSU over a long stretch of time, and that is certainly not gone unnoticed, so thank you. That's the end of my comment.
Trustee Scott.
Thank you. I first want to just say Happy Earth Day as well. So go green for that. I also want to just talk about an event we had as trustees at the Cow's House yesterday, an opportunity to meet with our union leaders here on campus. And it was just an awesome occasion to me to have the opportunity, I think, to thank some people that work on this campus that I think oftentimes go unrecognized for the work that they do to keep our campus as beautiful as it is, to make sure we've got power here on campus, making sure that things run the way that they need to. I was even joking, but actually kind of serious, that I think we need to do more to recognize and let them know how much they are appreciated. And I'm hoping that we will do something to recognize our local unions and the work that they do on this campus. So I just want to publicly thank them. I also want to just talk a little bit about the tour that we had the opportunity to take yesterday. I want to thank our athletic director for actually taking the time, and I actually think it was a pretty smart move on his part to show us the dire needs that we have in Jennison Fieldhouse for those athletes that are in our non-revenue producing sports, to go through Jennison Fieldhouse yesterday and to see the state of what they are dealing with, the accommodations that they have, the facilities that they need to train and to do what they do, was just disheartening. It's sad to me that many local high schools that I know of have facilities that are much better than what we have for our Big Ten athletes here on our campus. And it certainly was eye-opening and really put a fire under me that we have got to do more. Marty Heil and the work that she's done has gotten us so far, and I hope that we can just continue on the trajectory that she has sent us on, because we've got to raise money in order for this university to do what we need to do. We are behind the 8 ball, and I'm tired of really, looking at the people down the road and what they've been able to do. When we compare our endowments, there's just no question that we don't have what we need to do what we need to do. And the only way we're going to get there is to raise more money. And I know this probably, I don't want to talk a lot about it, but we've got to get fired up on raising money here. And I am just hoping and imploring those of you that care so much about this university and have the desire to see us to be everything that we can be, that we start to put our money where our mouth is, start to think about giving even legacy gifts after you are long gone that will help this university to proceed, to be able to do the things that we need to be successful. And I want to say to our athletic director that I am 100% behind everything that we can do as trustees to help you to get our facilities to where they need to be, so that these athletes have pride in what they're doing, where they're, practicing, that they have adequate facilities so that they can compete at the level that we want them to be able to. And we need to show that commitment in more than just words. And so I want to thank you for that tour, and just let you know I am 100% behind anything that we can possibly do to help you to do what we have seen needs to be done. So thank you to our athletic director. I also want to just recognize once again our faculty and staff. When we were here back in February, I think it was, I was all gung-ho about doing some kind of reception or something that we can do to acknowledge just the sacrifice, the commitment, and the just the greatness that we have in our faculty and our staff here at this university, everything that they endured over COVID, the way that they pivoted so quickly, everything that they have sacrificed as far as some of the benefits and salaries, all of these things, I want to acknowledge it more than just words. So I am going to just publicly state that I'm going to hopefully rally the troops so that we can do something before the end of the year to thank you all for everything that you've done. We truly appreciate you. I also want to congratulate our scholars. I unfortunately won't be able to attend the event, but you all amazed me. I couldn't even imagine getting a 4.0 ever in my life, you know, elementary, middle school, high school, or let alone here at MSU. So I don't know. You guys are great. I feel like, you know, I just don't even measure up sometimes when I think of the accomplishments of our students. So congratulations to you all. Kudos to your parents for whatever they did to make you be what you are. Like, really, they are the real MVPs in this, right? And then on a more somber note, as we heard Dr. Anthony say, I want to state that I am outraged as obviously a Black woman, a mother of a Black son. I have Black men in my family, but it's also not, as Trustee Vassar indicated yesterday in our meeting, a problem just for males. It's a problem for Black people, period. What we are continuing to see happen over and over again with over-policing. And I would echo the sentiments that MSU, with the great work that we've done in Grand Rapids, with the presence that we feel so strongly about, and the connections that we made and the commitment to that community, we need to also be committed to affecting change in the way that we can, which as an institution of education, I think is to educate in this area. I am imploring my colleagues that we as a board need to collectively implement something strategic in the Grand Rapids area. I think the time is now, and I think it needs to be on both sides, in law enforcement, but also in educating Black people, period, on how to survive traffic stops so that we can stop seeing these things happen. And so I would like to see us as a board to do something. I would like to see it happen sooner rather than later. And I sent you all a late night email to that effect, and I hope I get a response. With that being said, that would be the end of my comments. Go green, go white. Thank you. Oh, and to Marty, you're great. Thank you so much for what you've done. Yes, thank you. Okay, sorry, I'm done.
Trustee TV.
Forgot what was next. Thank you. I first want to apologize, Dr. Anthony, that I had to step out during your remarks. Day job. Just remind everyone I don't get paid to be here. I get paid to do my job outside, but I apologize for stepping out for your remarks. And I also just want to thank you for just each time that we meet, and I find you to be very inspiring. And I think I can only imagine being a student in one of your classrooms and listening to you teach. I just commend you for you remind me a lot actually of Dr. Vassar, with just the eloquence and the thoughtfulness of what you put in your words. I learned so much from even just the few minutes that we spend meeting with all of you. And I do want to say that I am committed to working with Trustee Scott to do something. And I want to acknowledge that as a white woman, I cannot imagine what it feels like, but I can commit that I will never get desensitized to what my fellow community members feel on a daily basis. And I know, Doctor, you also got emotional yesterday when they were talking. And every time this happens or I hear about it, there's always that question of what I can do. And I continue to ask that, what I can do and what voices can I lift
and using the privilege that I have never once had to fear for my life when I've seen a police car or been pulled over driving. I am someone that frequently speeds, and I don't have to worry about if I get pulled over. That is a moment in time. And to hear you talk about, and Brianna, your children, and as a parent, what you have to go through every single day with your children out into the world, I just can't even fathom that. Parents in general worry about their children's well-being, but what you have to endure every day is unimaginable to me. And I'm just so tired of it, and I would like to do everything possible to help and to lift the voices and to make real change, because as a criminal justice major, I support police, but this is unacceptable and it cannot go on any further. And I implore everyone in this room to never get desensitized to every time we hear about this, and hopefully not have to hear about it any longer, but don't get desensitized to this. You know, comments have been made about when it started. It started so very long ago. And we cannot forget that George Floyd was not the first. I know it is the one that seemed to have changed the conversation, but he was not the first. And unfortunately not the last. And we cannot get desensitized to this. And so I just want you to know that I'm committed, and will talk to you about any ideas that you have that we as a board can do, that we as members of society can do to make our fellow humans feel like humans and feel safe. So I just want to thank you for continually to bring it up and to not let us forget, and to challenge us to do something about it. And I thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge Georgia and Sarah and Caitlin. I didn't realize, because you weren't on the call yesterday, that you are also leaving us, but I just want to thank you for your service. Each of you are tremendous leaders. And I think you sort of said it best, Georgia. What you guys do is, as a former student at MSU, I can't even imagine how you go to class and do what you do. So thank you for the time and the energy that you've put in. And Hannah and Jordan, and thank you so much for being here today, and I'm looking forward to working with you. I also want to talk to Norm about our Trustee Foster and I's time in Flint, and really the feeling there. There's something special there, and I am excited about what to see Dean Souza do over there, and thank you for showing it to us. And to, as a fundraiser, appreciative of Brianna's comments about asking people for money. Marty knows that is it. For a fundraiser, you got to make the ask, and I appreciate Brianna using that. So see, you could be a fundraiser, you get it. But I also want to, in addition to talking about athletics, would like to talk about academics and the importance of giving to our academics and endowed professorships, so that we can bring the best of the best into our university, and to also acknowledging all my teaching focused faculty out there, paying our faculty, our teaching focused faculty who are touching the lives of our students every day, what they deserve to be paid. And so I think that's another plug for fundraising and why we need more money at MSU. And with that, I just want to thank everyone for being here at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning, and hopefully we can go out from this meeting and do better each day. So thank you.
Trustee Vassar.
Okay, so I'm going to go slowly, and maybe this time, can you hear me? No.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this hot spot is not so hot, so I apologize. And then there's this voice issue that I have too. So let me see. If you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. That's Zora New Hurston. Some of my earrings today. I would like just to get a small moment of silence for the Grand Rapids family who lost their son, brother, uncle, and father, and the countless families who have to bear the heavy grief of losing loved ones at the hands of those commissioned to protect and serve us. Thank you. I look forward to working with VP of Public Safety, Marlon Lynch, and the ever thoughtful Dr. Beauchamp to create a constructive action to communicate MSU's engagement in this struggle for justice. I apologize. I cannot be with you today in person. I have to be in San Diego for a professional conference. Sorry, not sorry. It's nice out here. It's nice. It's nice out here. Swim and dive. Sunrise Movement students, thank you for your resilience and perseverance. I appreciate watching your evolution in thinking and strategy to fight for causes you know are important. Ms. Syed, I think my message kind of got messed up last time, so I'll just say it again. It's always so good to hear from you. Your challenge of structures and use of empowering language for individuals calls for systems and environment change, and it's refreshing. And that's what the work that we are doing at MSU is we're changing the environment and the system so that students can be successful here. And I'm just so happy for your success, excited about your important, heartened by your devotion to marginalized folks around the world. MSU is fortunate to be a part of your story. Please keep us abreast of your many accomplishments to come. You are so very necessary. I want to give a special thanks to John Ambrose, who organized the phenomenal Family Day that saw future Spartans from across the country come together to meet one another, meet our administrations, our coaches who they loved. And Mr. Ambrose is demonstrably dedicated to student retention and matriculation and has ushered in record enrollment numbers since I've served on the board. Thank you for your commitment to students within the P20 pipeline, particularly those in Southeast Michigan who daydream of donning green and white. MSU's outgoing president, Georgia Frost, happy birthday. Thank you for your service to the community and to the university. Thank you for your admonishments for us and your exhortations for your peers. Your voice, your passion, your clarity will be missed. Happy end of the semester. I'm so happy this semester is over. You don't even know. I'm grateful this semester is over. Finish strong, MSU community. Finish strong. I usually encourage you to edify yourselves with rest. I do that today. You should rest because rest is revolutionary. As Chair Byram acknowledged, it's spring. So find renewal in the sun, rejuvenate with the joy of new flowers, and revel as we reemerge and reunite with friends and family. Find some fun. Go green.
Go white.
Concludes, yes. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.